Ruidosa Art Collective brings you El Barrio. A Ruidosa Art Collective series offers you a look into the dopest creatives straight from El Barrio. We will be interviewing a variety of artists from all walks of life and getting a glimpse of their creative processes and how their art came to be what it is today. In this episode, we have Clue. Welcome, Clue.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to, get it going.
Yeah, of course. If you could just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, and maybe how did you come up with the name Clue and like that story?
Yeah. So my name is Manuel Gomez. I'm born and raised in Chicago, from the southwest side, a little village to be specific.
Mm-hmm.
Been there my whole life, 24 years now. Mm-hmm. The way Clue came about was, so I started off, the way I got introduced through art was through writing, so doing graffiti. And I had a bunch of like name changes.
Yeah.
And we got caught up in some drama, like me and my homies got caught up in like some just like some dumb drama
stuff.
Some drama and like as a kid you're like oh shit, I gotta change my name right now, like we gotta change our name. So he was like, oh, why don't you go by Clue with a question mark? I'm like, oh, why Clue? He's like, oh, because like when we're out tagging or when we're out writing, like you don't want to leave any clues behind. I was like, yeah, I like that. So and that's how I got my name. Shout out my homie Arturo.
Hell yeah, Arturo, you did it.
Yeah.
So how long have you had that name, and like how long? You mentioned like having that other experience in art. But yeah, like how long have you been Clue?
Yeah. So my name. I've been doing that 7 years now.
That's insane.
Yeah, like 7 years. Wow. So I spent like those first 2 years doing graffiti, and then I got introduced to like the art form that I'm doing now. But the way that I got, first introduced to graffiti was, honestly, I didn't even know I was doing graffiti at some point. I was just like doing block letters or whatever just for fun.
Yeah.
And like a bunch of girls would ask me like in school, like yo, can you do my name? I was like, oh, I like this. Like all dumb.
Love that.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna keep doing this. Then eventually I got into skating, like skateboarding.
Yes, you did.
And I had a bunch of homies that were like, yo, like we want to skate too. And they were like, all right, cool, like let's all skate. So we gathered like a little crew, skating crew, just skating around like little village and all of that. And one of them was already into graffiti. The guy who gave me my name, he was into graffiti already, and he was like, yo, we're already a crew, like why don't we just start tagging? And like we were like 15, 16, like we didn't care about anything at that age. So we're like, yeah, like let's go out. So we started tagging, and that's when I like discovered graffiti and what it is, and that's when like I fell in love with it. And through graffiti is where I was like, yo, I want to be an artist like for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Yeah. A couple of like the homies like ended up like leaving that path, like didn't end up pursuing like a creative career, but like me and my homie like we're like, yo, we want to do this.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's how I first got introduced to like graffiti or art.
Okay. And then I was reading a couple of things about you, and I saw that you were your locali like kid. How was that experience, and how does that also like affect like who you are today and everything that you've done? I know a lot of your locali kids have done amazing things, and I think it's an amazing program.
Yeah, shout out YOLO. They're the reason why I'm doing like what I'm doing now. Yeah, so I was in high school. They were like vending at one of our events, at one of their at one of the high school events. Yeah. And like I approached the table because one of my friends at the time was she's like, oh, you should come check it out. You're into art. They do art, and she was enrolled in YOLO's program, street art program. I was like, cool, yeah, let me check it out. And I went and checked it out. I was like, I'm cool right now. Like I was very close-minded back then. I was like, nah, I'm cool right now. Right. And eventually, like I think it was my end of sophomore year when I got reintroduced to YOLO Cali. Yeah. Like the same friend approached me, was like, hey, like you should give it a chance this time. Wow. I was like, yeah, like let me try it out. I enrolled. Did their summer program, I believe was like 2017 or 2018, I can't recall, but one of those years. And then that's where I met Saint Rock.
Really?
Yeah, he was the teaching artist at the time.
Oh my god. Yeah, you guys go way back.
Yeah, we go way back.
That's awesome. I love uncovering lore.
Yeah, that's the homie. Shout out him. So I joined the program, and where was I going with this? I joined the program. I did it. and we were doing like a mural across the street from the Boys and Girls Club that where it's at.
Yeah.
And he would like call me out to like help him out with the mural that we were doing. A lot of the students would like stay back and like do the canvas work and do all of that, but he would call me out, just to help him paint it with like spray paint and all of that.
Right.
I was like, yeah, like that's cool, like let's do it. And then eventually programming came to an end. I told him like, all right, bro, I appreciate it. I'll see you next programming, because he was gonna be the teaching artist again.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh no, like let me get your number, let me get your Instagram, like I want to bring you around.
Yes.
My studio helped me with murals, so I started assisting him with murals and his studio work. And eventually I got exposed to like the street art scene, or like people who create characters as art. And I was like, oh, like this is a cool scene. And that time I was still doing graffiti.
Yeah.
So I was just like doing graffiti, and I knew I wanted to do like graffiti or like art for the rest of my life, and I just didn't know how. And then I think like when I started going, like being around him, I was like, all right, like people are making a living out of this, like him, being like the perfect example. When I first met him, I didn't know who he was, too.
Right.
I like, why are people like coming up to you, la la la. And then I did like some research, and I found out who he was. I was like, yo, that's crazy.
Yes,
and then I found out that he's like doing art for a living. So I was like, yo, I want to, this is like inspiring.
Yeah.
And that's when I started like Clue, like my character Clue. That's when he came about, just by seeing him and being exposed to like, the whole art scene and what they were doing. And like, just like being able to tell your story through like art. It's like yo, I want to do that. Yeah,
and that's super important. I think a lot of artists that are illustrators, especially a lot of us that come from, I don't want to say the streets, but you come from these Latino communities where art is maybe not given that importance. It's important to see community leaders and artists that look like us, that represent us, and that have that mentorship. It sounds like he mentored you, and that's amazing. Wow, that's really awesome.
No, yeah, definitely. You gotta have like that person you can relate to, and like he was like I said, he was like that perfect example. And like I said, I grew up in Little Village, so the fact that like that program is ran in Little Village, like yo, you don't hear that a lot, and people gotta highlight that. Yeah, I feel like it's important to highlight that at least.
Yes, I'm a big believer in going back into the communities that raise us, that serve us, especially if we're older. Oh my God. Or when we're older, so that again we can just help our youth. Because I just feel like back then too, like I feel like now there's a movement of art, but back then, I don't know, I grew up like in Berwyn, so adjacent to Little Village, Pilsen, so a lot of Latinos. But like I said, I don't think there was a lot of like focus on the arts. It was like only a couple artists, but now you see a lot of artists that are Latinos that are doing it. And so you can definitely see how like community activation works. Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, definitely. You don't hear a lot of like a lot of those stories coming from like the hoods or whatever. But when you do hear, you're like, yo, that's inspiring. Like, let's do it. Like, I want to be that person, or I want to be the same like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you think up to today, or could you actually talk about a couple of the collaborations you've done? I've seen that obviously your work is amazing, and so you've gotten a lot of really cool recognition and collaborations. Could you speak about your favorite one and maybe why it has been your favorite one?
I know. Like with like artists or like brands, or like
artists, brands.
I think my favorite ones are always like with the homies like Ramiro, Sant Rock, and them. Those are always like the fun, and just because they happen like so organically, and they're fun. Like, it's just like whenever we get together, there's always like a kickback moment. You're like, all right, let's do something. So then it just forms organically, and I think those are like the best collaborations. And I feel like when I collaborate with an artist, I was just speaking to somebody else about this. They're like, oh yeah, they were mentioning like, oh, I don't know how to like collaborate with artists. I was like, the way I go about it is just like forming a relationship or a friendship with that that specific artist, and then just letting it happen naturally, organically. Yeah, because I
agree with that. I think a lot of people want to almost like get in with the artist and stuff like that, but you truly have to cultivate the relationship, and sometimes the collaboration is not there. And so I feel like holding space for that, and like making sure that you guys are friends, you're on the same page, and alignment is really important. And it'll show in the art, right? It'll show in the way that it like flows and that your styles combine together. And I also really loved Ramiro, Sant Rock, and I see that. I see the synchronicity in your guys' work whenever you guys have collaborated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super
No,
awesome.
yeah, they always come naturally, and it's always best that way. But as far as like a brand collab, damn, I think at the moment, I think definitely Wonder.
Yes,
Yeah,
I saw
Wonder.
that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, those were like, that's probably like one of the funnest ones, just because like, well, they gave me like creative freedom on most of the things, and I think like an artist just like needs that. And it was like my first the first t-shirt that I did with them was like I forget how many colors I used, but it's like if you know about like screen printing, you know that like each color is like you know a screen, and that's like a feed right there. And I did like, I don't know, I went crazy, like 8-10 colors or something like that. And they were like yeah, let's run it. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. So I think that was like, all right, you know, this is cool collaboration. Plus like the whole event that we did, you know, got to pay out the homies, got to work with the homies, and just have like people in their space, in the space that, you know, typically we don't go to.
That's what I was gonna hit on. What an honor to have like them have you highlighted as a Latino, and also you bringing, you know, your friends in, other local Latino artists. I think that's what I was like the most proud of. Like when I saw that, I'm like, hell yeah! Like that museum has been traditionally for a different demographic, and to see again your presence there and like the representation is so freaking sick. Commend you for that.
Thank you. No, exactly. Yeah, like you will look around and there's just like a bunch of like, you know, people of color. I was like, yeah, that's sick. Like, and a lot of my friends like came up to me like, hey, like we never even knew like this was here. Like we never knew like this is, you know, this existed. I was like, well, like, you know, go experience it. And I think I'm big on that, like just having like bringing my people into like experiences that we typically don't experience. Like I feel like that's all I want to do, like, with my art. Yeah,
that definitely aligns with a lot of the Ruidosa mission, and like that's exactly why we wanted to talk to you and get to know your story. You mentioned screen printing. How did you get into that? I love screen printing. So anyone that screen prints, I'm like, yo, like that's so sick.
Screen printing came about when I was writing or doing graffiti. So like, all right, I'm putting my name up on the streets everywhere. Like, I want to see it like being worn somewhere or another. And so I just started doing research, and I found out about screen printing. It was either screen printing or block printing. I was like, oh, I'm not trying to do block printing. Like
the block printing, and it's so hard.
They're both like super tough. Like I feel like I have more patience for screen printing. So I dove into like a rabbit hole of like screen printing or like how to. And picked up a couple supplies. I was like, 15, 16. I didn't have like a debit card or anything. I was like, I was young. And so I told my sister, one of my older siblings, and I was like, yo, can you order this for me? And they were like, yeah, like, do it, let's order it. So they ordered it for me, got it, started experimenting, messed up a bunch of times. And then I finally got it, and that's when I like stamped my first like t-shirt with like my clue tag. And people, like, I would just sell it to like my homies, and people around the school were like, yo, like I want that. So I was like, all right, cool. So I just started like printing a bunch, printing, and that's how I got into just like I just wanted to see my art in a different medium. Screen printing was one of those, and ever since then I love screen printing. There was a period of time where I didn't do it, and then finally getting back into it.
I think that's the thing with screen printing, and like even just printing in general, like there's so many versions of it, and you can just like really, that's why I started block printing this time, so I could give my friends like my prints and not have to worry about like not having the original. That drives me crazy for some reason. But yeah, I also love like I said, screen printing and seeing like your design on a shirt. Like I think that's so sick. Like fashion and art combined. I think fashion is art, right? But that combination is so special.
Wow. No, yeah, definitely. I want to dive into block printing, but maybe in the future.
I mean, and I was thinking that today actually, because I was like, yo, like people that screen print and like do block printing are also always correlated to like graphic design and like graffiti for some way, or like in some type of way. Because I don't know, a lot of the people that I look up to or artists that I've worked with, like all have those same interests. And so I'm sure it's because, you know, printing was like the first like way that, you know, information was distributed, like now kind of like what social media does in regards to like putting artwork out there. But
no, definitely.
And then I saw too, like you went to the Museum of Mexican Art and you did a workshop there. with
workshop. Which one?
with the Alliance or
Oh yeah, the lines. Yeah. Yeah, we did a screen printing workshop for their fundraiser.
Yeah.
They hosted their fundraiser there, and they so I work closely with them. I work with the Alliance 98. And I'm like the lead of like anything creative that happens with them. Like one of the leads actually.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, like what if we do like a screen printing workshop? And then I hit up Ramiro, like, yo, would you be down to like design something? And then like we just do like screen printing workshop before the fundraiser, and you know we sold a couple tickets, and then you know people got to experience like screen printing.
Yeah. And how was that? Was there like all levels of like people there, or like I always love seeing children at these things. I just get so hyped like when a little kid's like, I love that. I'm like, yes. This is for you actually. This is why I came.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was mostly adults who had like you know screen printed, like either like they had no screen printing experience or like done it like once, but most of them you know, most of them weren't exposed to it. They just wanted to try it out and see like you know the process of it. And I feel like I like to expose people to screen printing. I feel like it's such a unique art medium that like yo, like we should try it out, put it out to the public. And as now that you mentioned kids, we did one for this it was more like a private thing. The school hit us up in the north side. They were like, yo, like, well, my old high school teacher, she hit me like, hey, are you still doing screen printing? I'm like, yeah. like can you do it for my kids' school, like something for Valentine's? I was like, yeah. So we had a bunch of like little kids coming out like to print. I was guiding them like what, 8 to 12 years old. I was like, that's sick. Like,
you see seven because they're like enthusiastic and they're down with it, and they'll ask questions. I love that. I love when little kids ask questions. I was like, ask all those questions.
They were like, as I would wrap up like the little demonstration. They're like, all right, let's get into it. They like would jump to the press, go crazy. I'm like, all right, hold up.
Like, wait, safety first.
Nah, but yeah, I love like when you know the kids' reactions, like when they see the screen lift and then they see the design transfer over. They're like, they freak out.
Yeah, that's so sick. How to, just because I'm curious about this, I saw, are you a founder of Grounded Studio, or do you like curate with them? I've seen your name attached to that a lot, and just kind of curious because I know it's in Little Village and it seems like such a beautiful organization, and I would like to, you know, shed some light and awareness. Yeah,
so the way that Grounded Studio came about was I was doing this like live painting for TA98, which is like the main, or like the main organization, and they focus on youth, the workforce development. So they just help youth find jobs over the summer, or like hire them to do like, you know, run kickbacks, or you know, just throw events in the neighborhood. And they were doing a launch party for one of their new office spaces, and I had a friend who works there. She still works there too. And she was like, hey, like, would you want to do some like light painting for the new space launch? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I pulled up, did the painting, and then the founder of the organization approached me. He's like, hey, like, would you want to join T98? I was like, oh, I'll think about it. I'll think about it. Just like shoot me a call. Like I was tired that whole day, so I was like, I just want to go home.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah, like, it was like the sun was beaming on you and everything. I was like, nah, I'm good. Like, bro, like just like give me a phone call. Like, so he gave me a call. I saw he like proposed like what he wanted me to do, and I was like, nah, I'm good right now. Like I had originally said no. Yeah. And then because I had so I work at the Museum of Mexican Art too as a teaching artist.
Oh, that's so sick.
So I was like, nah, I'm good. Like I'm doing my art. I'm doing like the museum gig. Like I'm straight right now. And I think he was like being persistent for a little bit. Yeah. And he hit me up again. He was like, hey man, like just like, you know, checking up on you. Like would you reconsider? And so we met, and he was like, oh, like what do you want to do? I was like, well, I always wanted to open up a studio like in Little Village. Like that's like always been a dream of mine, like to open up a creative space in, you know, our neighborhood. And he was like, all right, let's do it. Like sign up. It was like under a grant. Yeah. So I signed up, and like he was like, yeah, like let's run it. Like let's talk. Sign up, and then like we'll talk. I was like, all right, cool. So we did it. We went like looking for spaces around like the down 26. We wanted it down 26. Just
Why?
like
I want to ask, why did you want it down 26?
well, originally I didn't want it down 26. I wanted it like in like one of like the blocks, like one of the
like
one of the little gem blocks. But he was like not persistent, but he was like, oh, let's do it on 26. I think it'll be cool like if we do it on 26. Plus, like I feel like 26 is such a it's like a staple. Like like why wouldn't you want a business on 26? But like to own something on 26 or even rent is like it's crazy.
Really?
Yeah, it's like crazy expensive just because like it comes second to like the Magnificent Mile, like in revenue of like Chicago. Like prices are gonna be up there. So like any space that we would search for like was either ran down or like they wanted like hella money, or like damn, like that's tough. Like I don't think this is gonna come to life. And then so you've been to the studio space before, right? So next door is their office.
Yes.
And currently where Grounded Studio is at, it was like vacant, and then the landlord like finally put it up. And David, the founder of T98, he was like, yo, like, would you want to run it out of here? And there's a lot of things we have to like loop around, like hours and all of that. But I was like, bro, like let's run it. Like I think it'll be a good start.
Yeah.
A good start to start it off. So yeah, like it all came about like the way Grounded came about was through just like that simple question, like what do you want to do? And I said like I want to start a studio space. Originally I wanted it to be like just for me, just because I wanted to create a space. And I was like, yo, if I'm gonna do it with an organization, like we're gonna do something like it's not just gonna be for me. Like it's gonna be like for the whole neighborhood, or like for the, all of Chicago. And we've been able to do that.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
Yeah. So that's how Grounded came about.
Yeah, super sick. I love that. I love that, that your friend had that determination. And like sometimes we do get overwhelmed, but I think when you belong somewhere, it will find you, and you'll become aligned to it. So that's super sick.
No, yeah, definitely. Since like a start, since I got, even when I was like doing graffiti, I was like thinking about it, like, yo, I want to open up a studio space in Little Village. And because like a lot of the times I would have to look outside of Little Village, or like the neighborhood that I grew up in. And I was like, man, I'm tired of that. Like, now I'm not tired of it. I'm just like grateful.
Right.
And I'm just like, I just took everything that I learned from like being in so many spaces, like Yolo Cali, like Rock Studios, Any Squared. I don't know if you're familiar with Any Squared.
Yeah, I love Any Squared. You're an Any Squared person? Like,
I didn't know this, Lord. Yeah, I used to go. I used to go.
Shout out Tracy.
Yeah, shout out Tracy for real. I used to go, when I was in college. What? Yeah. In Colombia, I was in Colombia for. It's funny that you mentioned graphic design, because I was in graphic design too.
I already know, we're all like so similar. I love that.
Yeah, but I ended up dipping after like 3 semesters or 4 semesters since. I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this.
Why? It was too.
Yeah, I mean, I was never for school.
Yeah.
I never really liked school, and I don't know. I just like, man, I'm leaving. So I kind of just left without telling my parents or anybody.
Really? Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. It took me a while to tell them, just because I feel like, I'm Mexican. So
yes.
They were like, oh, it was like a big thing for me to go to college.
Yeah.
And for me to tell them, I was scared. I was like,
I could imagine. Yeah. So then you did tell them?
Yeah, eventually I had to. I was like, all right. It was I left during like COVID years, so I was able to like to get away with it for a little bit, but then I was like, nah, like I just felt guilty, so I told them, and then they took the news like, oh, what the, but that's how I found out about Any Square, was going to college. I'm not sure if you're like familiar with Frills.
Yeah, I know
Frills. He would go there a lot. He was like, yo, you should come through.
Yeah.
So anytime we would go get out of the class, we would like shoot over to Any Square on their open studio days.
Whoa, Wednesdays.
And
Wednesdays,
Fridays,
I think.
Wednesdays and Fridays. So we would shoot over there, and with a couple other artists who attended Columbia, and just kick it there.
What a vibe. Yeah, I love their space. I love what they do there. I think it's important to have those open studios and creative sessions amongst creatives, because it really keeps you in that mindset and like that productivity mode. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so just by being exposed to so many places, like I took, what I learned there, how they were doing it, and let's bring it all back to the hood.
Yeah. And, yes.
Yeah.
That line.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's all I've been about. Like
Yeah.
always been about like, yo, let's bring it back to the hood. Like how can our people experience it, or how can we do it here?
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you create your art, what inspires you? What makes you create? What makes you pick your character, your symbology? Yeah. How does that look like?
Definitely like growing up in Little Village.
Yeah.
There, I think that's what's mostly what like I gravitate towards, like either my story or like stories from like people who grew up in the neighborhood too, or like just like neighbors and all of that. That's like what that's what you know, I talk about in my art mostly. When I first came up with Clue, I had like named him something else, but it was like, what was it called? He was like Happy Lost Boy or something like that, or like Lost Boy, because of like the question mark eyes. So the way like my character came about was I was tagging Clue with a question mark, and I wanted to pay honor to that because people knew me by that. And I was like, all right, like how can I keep like, you know, how can I keep my name alive through like this new art form, and or like through a new character. And I was like, oh, let me make the eyes like question mark eyes, and you know, just made it big. And then everything else kind of just like came naturally. The big ears was my tío would call me like Orejón.
Siempre nos dicen exactly. Eso. A mí también me llamaban así.
Orejón. So I was like, I'm like, all right, let me give my characters like big ass ears. Yeah. So I did that, and then I just like started messing with the idea of like question mark eyes, and that's when like Lost Boy came about, or like Happy Lost Boy came about, just because I feel like at that time I was questioning a lot of things that were like happening in my neighborhood, like, yo, like why did it have to be this way, like why do I have to see this, like why do I have to live through this? So you know, that's anytime like I create and mostly like, you know, tie it back to like growing up, or like just seeing certain stuff or hearing certain stuff, you know, from the hood.
Yeah, no, that's so important. That is so important. Visual art really tells these stories, and like I said, it's the lack of representation that usually gets our youth in trouble. And so thank you for that. Thank you for really putting our stories out there and representing us in such a beautiful manner. How do you overcome when you don't want to create? And like, how do you get yourself back into that creation mode? Or do you even go through that? I know some artists do, some artists don't. They kind of have more discipline.
I feel like I've been going through that lately. I feel like I've been going through that lately. Sometimes I just get tired, and most of the time when I have like time to create is at night, and by that time I'm like already at the crib, like chilling, and I'm like, man, like I don't want to do anything, like I just want to chill. And so I feel like that's been happening a lot recently, but the way I don't know. I don't even know how I overcome it. I just kind of like try to lock back in. Like, all right, like, you know, let me play some music. Let me, you know, just get the space going. And once I get going, I feel like I can't stop. So I do like, it's just a matter of like motivating myself to like pick up a pen or the brush and lock in to create. And once I get in the zone, I'm like, all right, now I can create. And then I can go for hours.
Yeah, that happens to me too. I always just create at night. I just can't do it during the day. I don't know, unless it's like a bigger project or something else. But my true inspiration comes at night. And I think it's like, I'm just a night owl. It's like the quietness. But then then you sleep super late.
No, for real. There was times when I pulled like 3 a.m. all night. It's just like, but I wouldn't even notice though. Like, I was just like, all right, I just want to create. And those were the times where I was just like creating like for fun, like whatever. Like most of the times I do create for fun, but like when you have those times, I'll be locked into like 3 a.m. or something.
Wow, that's awesome.
Which, like you said, is like the best times to do it.
Yeah, literally. And then I like seeing too, like, who else is awake? I'll like post a story, like, we're on the same thing.
We're all creating right now or something.
You mentioned you're Mexican. ¿De dónde eres? How is that experience to like, you know, being Mexicano? Do you consider yourself a Chicano? And I'm just curious about that.
Like I said, I'm Mexican American. grew up in a little village, like I said, but my dad is from LDF. Yeah, he's
Oh
from
my
LDF.
God. Hello, brother.
Yeah, they were Chilangos.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
he's from LDF, and then my mom's from Guanajuato.
Oh my goodness. Whoa. Have you ever been there?
No, I never been.
No?
Nah.
Oh my God, you have to go.
I know, I have to go. I never been to Mexico at all, actually.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I need to visit it.
Yeah.
I think the one time I did have the opportunity to go, I couldn't find my passport.
Yes, that happened to me too.
So
Don't worry.
I was like, damn, the one time I could have gone, like,
Yeah.
couldn't find my passport. But yeah, I definitely identify, like, Chicano, just being proud of, like, the roots that we come from, like,
Right.
especially, like, the stories that we hear from, like, our parents. Like, you got to be proud of that.
Yeah. I love too, just going back a little bit, you were saying that you went to school and you had to go through that process. How did you not let that like affect you? Because I know what that is, right? The first experience, the first generation experience where we try to go to college, we try to get that degree, we try to make our parents' immigration story worth it if they are immigrants. Like, how did you overcome being like, I just, school was not for me, accepting that, and then still pursuing your creative endeavors?
Yeah, I feel like at the first, like I said, it was like tough. So I have an older sister, and she graduated from university or like college.
Right.
So I feel like that alleviated a little bit off of me.
She did
I
it.
was like, she did it for me. Like, we're good now. But so that like took some weight off of me too. I was like, all right, like they already have like not the perfect what's it called, like kid or whatever, but that was like, all right, like this is a little easier.
Right.
So I left, and I was like, man, I want to pursue this. And I had a talk with them, like, yo, I want to like pursue art. They're like, well, like, how are you gonna do it? I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out though.
Yeah.
And then, but yeah, they saw that I was doing like a couple gigs here and there, and they were like, all right, like, they were still questioning, like, hey, so you're gonna go back? So you're gonna go back? I was like, nah, I don't think so. And then it wasn't until recently where they started to see, like, all right, like maybe this was like, this is your calling. Right, maybe this is like the path that that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was very stubborn on like that idea of like, yo, I want to be an artist full time. I mean, I was going to art school, but it wasn't really for me, I would say.
It's difficult. It's difficult. There's a lot of things, that people don't speak about in the first generation experience, especially also as creatives. Like, I think art, specifically in my story, has been where, only if you're privileged in a sense, or if you have the financial background. And I know I didn't have that growing up. So, it's very inaccessible sometimes. Like, and that's why I love artists that go back to the hood, right? Because it's like, art is for everyone. I love street art. I love that aspect of it. I love that it's just there. And I think it also pays like homage to us being Mexicanos, y los mexicanos como siempre hacen todo en la calle. Why do they do that? So that everybody can enjoy, so that it's not like restricted or like, cut off from like certain people. So I definitely think that's so cool.
Yeah, nah, exactly. I would like, when I first went into school, was like, I wouldn't see like a lot of my people, or a lot of people who look like me. I was like, oh, this is gonna be an experience. Yeah.
And it was like, our kids are just, I love our kids. Let's just but I know.
No, yeah, definitely. I mean, I met some cool people. But I feel like all of them were from Chicago. Like the people that I did befriend, like they were from Chicago.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You just had that small
vibe.
corner of like Chicago people. But no, it's cool. It's cool.
And so now your parents have seen like your work, or como, like, have you invited them, or your work is everywhere, so I can imagine like they go out and they're like, oh, mi hijo hizo eso.
I think for a while I feel like I mostly like closer to my sister than like my parents, just because we grew up together, like very tight. And so I tell her everything. Oh. They're like, yo, you should tell my parents, bro. I was like, yeah, maybe, huh? They're like, bro, like, you should tell them. Like, they're always asking, like, what you're doing, like, what you've been on, or, like, the projects that you're working on. So sometimes, honestly, it just goes over my head.
Yeah.
But, I'm starting to get better at that. So, I think the major one was the CTA.
That was sick too.
The bus ads.
Oh man, how did that come about? Like, did they reach out to you or?
Through the Alliance 98.
Oh my
yeah. So I vended at one of their events, like one of the very, like when I first got introduced to organization, I vended at one of the events, and then one of the city folks, or city guys, he bought like some of my art. At the moment, I didn't know who he was.
You didn't know who he was at all?
I didn't know who he was at all. David, the founder of TA98, he's like, oh, like this standard, like he does something for, I forget what his role is, but like, you know, it's a specific role at the city, My Shine, My Future. And yeah, so, you know, a couple months ago, and then I started working with the organization, and Standard reached out. He was like, yo, like we're trying to promote our ad. We're doing a bus camp or a CTA campaign all over Chicago. Like, would Manny want to be like, or like would Clue want to be interested? Would he be interested in like designing some stuff? Yeah. And originally I had said no. I was like, nah, I'm good.
Why?
Because the time frame they gave me like a week and a half or something.
No way, dude.
Yeah.
For an original work.
Well, the thing is that they had gone to an agency who had designed something already, and I told them, I was like, if I'm gonna put something out, like it has to be original. Like I have to like do it from scratch, like do everything like on my own. Yeah. Because originally they wanted me to add like just like simple doodles on top of the images that they already had. Wow. Yeah, and I was like, like that's cool, but I was like, I'm trying to do like my own thing. And they're like, all right, well, you have like a week and a half. And I was like,
You're like,
at first I was like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
And then he reached back out again. He's like, hey, like, you know, just like checking in, like, would you be interested? And I was like, all right, let's do it. Okay. So then I did it, you know, came up with the design in like one night. Yeah. And then they approved it. Really? And the whole process took like a couple months after like the first approval. Yeah. And then that's when it started hitting the streets. Yeah. And my OG, she sent me like pictures like, oh, I'm seeing your bus. Like it just passed by next to me, la, la, la. I had my cousins reaching out to her, or like my tias reaching out to her, like, oh, look, mira el bus de Manny down Ashland, or, you know, whatever. One of my cousins writes the CTA a lot. So like she was sending my mom like texts every other hour, like, oh, mira el de Manny, mira, like la la. So yeah, that was like, I think that's when they were like, all right,
like you made it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was like my moment of like personally, like, oh, I made it. Yeah. Like, just because it was like a very sentimental moment with my mom. Yeah. She was like, oh, she's powered by faith a lot.
Yes. A lot of our moms.
Yeah. And she was like, yo, like I literally asked God like for this, like before like I were to pass, like I want to see your work on like an advertisement, and like he like me dio mi deseo. See? So that was like yo, like bro, my mom telling me that, like bro, like that's like yo, I made it. Like
that literally is making
like
it.
Nothing else. Like, I mean, everything matters, but like just that simple comments, like just like made my whole like I'm doing this for this reason. You know?
Yeah, our parents' validation is so important, and especially in art. I know a lot of parents, like you said, they kind of question us, but to have shared that moment so deep with her, I can only imagine. Yeah. So iconic.
No, yeah, especially because like when I was doing graffiti, I got I got caught up with it. Yeah. And they were like, oh, you better not be doing that no more. Like, yeah. I can imagine. You better not be like doing this no more. You better not like they were basically telling me like don't do like graffiti or art no more. I was like
damn, like, it's my passion.
Yeah. So I would like, you know, hide my sketchbook or like my black book away and like tuck it under my bed or something.
That's how much they didn't want to see it.
Yeah, they were like, yo, we don't even want to see it like on paper or anything. So I was always like, I feel like I shut down during that time. So maybe that's why like I wouldn't tell them much. But then I was like, nah, I'm gonna keep doing this. Like I don't care. Like I'm gonna keep, like I'm telling you, like I feel like I'm a very stubborn person. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna keep doing this. So.
What's your zodiac? We have to dissect this.
Yeah, I'm a Pisces.
Ooh, was it your birthday yet?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I just turned 24. Yeah.
24?
Yeah, 24.
Oh my god, I thought you were a little bit older.
No, I'm 24.
That's
I feel like when I tell people,
even more cooler.
Yeah, they're like, damn, you're young. You're like,
super. I mean, you look young, but I just thought because of the experience that you had that you were a little bit older. So that's so amazing.
Yeah.
I love that even more.
Yeah, I feel like I got started so young that
Yeah.
like, you know, I feel like I got put on early, like just like starting experiencing like the whole, you know, art scene like so young, especially like with like Scent Rock being like my mentor and just being around him so much. I was seeing the way that he was moving and, you know, he would always plug me. So,
That's
you know, that was like a
amazing.
huge plus. And like, I feel like that's why I'm here now,
Yeah.
like doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, homies need to plug homies.
Exactly.
That's how you know, true, that like, too, that you're in community and that they also like see you and like value your work. So that's so amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, I love the story about your mom. I'm thinking about that definitely very deeply.
No, yeah.
Wow, that's so nice.
We've gotten so close. Like I feel like I'm like super close to her.
Yeah, it's important.
Exactly. So.
Wow, so you're a Pisces, 24. What advice do you think? Because I know a lot of people ask this question, but what advice do you truly think is important for coming up artists? Like, what would you say for them to focus on, to experience, to do?
Yeah. I always try to think back of like, you know, what I would like to hear like when I was that age, but I feel like just being like a little persistent like with yourself. I feel like you just gotta keep going at it. I know it's like I feel like it's tough like as a up and coming artist. I feel like I'm still an up and coming artist, so it's always tough like, you know, trying to give advice or whatever, but I always say like, you know, just keep going at it, just like keep going like and just like pivot, like if something doesn't work out, like try something else. But I feel like if you want to be a creative, that's like, you know, that's huge in the creative scene. You just got to dedicate yourself.
That too. Yeah, you can't give up easily. Because a lot of people too, they think it's like, oh, it's a one-time thing. Like, no, honey, we got to do this over and over again.
Exactly. Just
machetearle.
Exactly. Yeah, just like keep going at it. Be persistent with yourself and don't lose that hope.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have a favorite mural or favorite like work? I know we said like your favorite collaboration, but I'm curious to see like your favorite mural that you've done, because I see your murals and I'm like, yo, this is so amazing. I love it. I love seeing the homies things.
Favorite mural? I don't think I have a favorite mural.
That's
maybe
fair.
I do, but
like, I just forgot.
I'm trying to recall the ones I do have. I think the one we have at Novel with Ramiro.
Oh my god, I love that one.
That one was super fun. Just because like skateboarding, like I was mentioning, I got into art through like skateboarding. Yeah. That one. Which one else? I really like the one we did in St. Rock's Wall.
Yeah, that was really pretty.
For what was it? National Earth Day or something, or like during Earth Day. Yeah, that one was like super fun. Yeah. But I do have a favorite painting.
Oh yeah, okay. What's your favorite
painting? I haven't even posted it actually. I've never posted it, but it was
early
part
drop.
of. Nah, for real. I did it like 1-2 years ago actually.
Oh, you just never posted it?
Yeah, I never posted it. Oh
No te gustó, or
no,
you're
I
like,
love
this is
it.
my
No,
beauty.
it's mine.
I feel like that.
It was for this show called Desarrollo. Do you know Edwin? He goes by Milk Breath. Yeah. That's the homie. He put a show. He curated a show together at Studio Ness's old gallery, or like the gallery that she has now. I know she moved out, so he put a show together. He invited me, Ramiro, Frills, Nez, and him. We were all part of it. But the theme was, our desarrollo, like how we grew up. Like when we met, he was like, "Yo, like what should it be?" He was like, "Oh, let's make it about our childhood." And during that time, I had recently lost my grandma had passed away, and like I grew up with her. So she would always take me down 26. She would always take me out to like La Segunda.
Oh, I love that. I love that you mentioned that.
Yeah,
Hell yeah. You're real. You are real.
She would take me to La Segunda, to go buy something from the paletero. I grew up playing soccer, so she would buy me like soccer balls or like soccer gear. She would take me to the carniceria to go just to make food for the day. Yeah. And so I created a painting based off of, that, which is my character holding a heart, representing like the love that she like gave to me. And then like, just like I said, I put like buildings. Like I said, I put a segunda in there. I put like a carniceria. I put the arco. Just like if I was like taking like a trip down 26th Street.
Yeah,
And,
that memory.
Yeah, so that's my favorite painting. A lot of people mention trying to buy it. Like, yo, is that for sale? I was like, nah.
Yeah.
Nah. And for the show, I did put it up for sale, but I put it up for like a crazy price. I was like, I'm only letting it go like if it's for this much. I think it was like 2K or something. I was like, yo, I'm only letting it go like for this price, but no one bought it, thankfully. So I had it at my crib for a little bit, and then I moved it to the studio. So if you ever visit Grounded, it'll be like in the back.
Oh, actually, I think I did see because I'm nosy, and when I went to Ask a Punk, I saw your work, and that's how I found out that you were like working there or like part of it. And I'm like looking, and I saw it, and I was like, oh my god!
It's like you walk into
yes,
it,
and you
like,
see it.
Yeah, it's in between like those two walls and like in the back. And it's
it is
like
gorgeous. It is.
Right,
I have seen it.
So yeah, that's like my baby right there.
Yeah, I love when creatives do that, when artists do that. Cause like sometimes you don't want to sell your things, and people are like, oh, just sell it, and I'm like, yeah, only sell it if you truly pay me this amount, and then it goes, and then the relief that nobody had that money, nobody wanted that money.
I know. So people love that piece.
It's gorgeous.
I haven't even posted it. So
wow,
that's how much it means to me. Yeah.
I had a question for you. Yes, for the freaking question. So what would you like, as we close up and wrap up this wonderful conversation that we've had, what would you like your like legacy to be? What would you like? What do you see coming? What do you envision for the years to come for Clue?
I like I said, I feel like I'm big on experiences.
Yeah.
So just providing experiences like for my people, getting them to spaces that like typically we don't visit or we're not represented in.
Right.
I feel like I'm big on that.
Yeah.
So if I'm able to give experiences like to my people, like I feel like I want to be known for that. And then the whole studio thing, I was like I said, I was since a kid I wanted to do it, and I thought I was gonna do it like further into like my art career. Like when I was like yo, I gotta be big, like I gotta be big, like making a living off of it, and like I just have money to like keep it alive. I was like huge on that, but the opportunity came about with the organization. So I feel like that's like another thing I want to be like legacy, like leave behind like a creative space and the hood that I grew up in, like where people it can be a safe space for them, a safe space for creatives, not just us, but also like I said, provide experiences for the whole neighborhood. There's been times where like so we're like in the back end.
Yeah.
And but this still doesn't stop people like everyday visitors to like stop in and check it out. So when I see like the las mamás and like bringing their kids in.
¿Sí vienen?
Yeah. Sometimes it's like sometimes we gather like a little crowd outside. So they're like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah. Quieren saber.
Yeah. And then they end up going into like the studio space, and they're like, oh, we didn't know this was here. Like like, oh yeah, like it's been here. Like, well, we've been there for like a year now. They're like, oh, this is cool. Like, cómo se puede involucrar a mi niño, mi niña, like quieren hacer artistas, o les gusta el arte, like how can they get involved?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's what we do it for,
Yeah, that's literally it. I love Mexicans who are Latinos. They're so like, they just ask you. They get in there, they're like, how can we become a part of this? How can we do this? Like, I know I program a lot out of Pilsen and Patch, and sometimes we get that too, and I love that. Like, I sometimes see like maybe other people get uncomfortable, but I love that because that for me, that's who we're trying to reach, right? The youth. Like, I love adults that love art, but I think like you kept on saying, like, it's important for our youth to see that it's possible and that it's like definitely like attainable if you just like keep on working hard and not let up like that.
Yeah, exactly. Working hard and then being with the right team.
Yeah, that too. Have you ever been with maybe like not in alignment with artists? I could imagine maybe.
I feel like I'm able to tell like whether I'm gonna like whether like a friendship or like something is gonna work out with a certain person. So you know, I feel like if it doesn't work out, I'm quick on cutting it off. I'm like, all right, like,
Really?
you know, or distancing myself.
Yeah.
Or, you know, not a. I still get in, like, keep in contact with them, or like, you know, stay in touch with them, but not on like on that level.
Yeah, that makes sense too. And that's super important because sometimes we let like those friendships or collaborations go on way longer than we should. And it low key, you know, it affects us or, you know, our careers and our decisions like that.
Yeah, I feel like I had a couple like bad experiences. I was like, all right, like I should have followed my gut feeling. So ever since then, I'm like, all right, I'm following my gut feeling.
Yeah, it's important to be intuitive like that as artists. Because yes, you know, se destruye todo and it gets so much more worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to hold space for that, and that's important. You know, you're young, and the fact that you know that is really sick.
Yeah, trying to.
Okay.
Yeah, just looking at what, like, you know, like you said, Ruidosa, Patch, and all these other organizations are doing is like, you know, inspiring. Like, yo, like, you know, anytime I look like at what y'all are doing,
Thank
I'm
you
like,
so
oh, like, you know, like let's try to do that with Grounded or something, you know. But yeah, we should work together or something.
Yeah, I'm so down. Yeah, and that's exactly what it's about, right? Like inspiring each other and like supporting each other, bringing like awareness to each other's stories, our platforms. Because I think we all have, like, obviously we have our mediums and we have very distinct styles, but the message is there. And I think it's about community. It's about showing our excellence as, you know, marginalized people, as people that have really been in this country, have done the work, have, you know, experienced the entire American dream, the Chicanismo, the Mexicanidad. And so that's really, you know, like, people with those values I love working with, right? Because we just understand, and it's just like we're gonna, you know, make it work, and like I said, uplift each other.
Yeah. So
it's super sick.
Exactly.
Where can we find you? Where can we find, you know, you mentioned a couple places, but if you want to plug up, like, you know, obviously yourself and like.
Yeah. Well, most of my work I upload it on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know, my Instagram's at clue.chicago. Like, any future drops, any future collabs, any work that I'm doing, I always post it on there. So want to check me out,
okay,
you can find me there.
All right, we'll find you.
Hell yeah. But I think, you know what came to mind? Like a final what's it called, like just thinking about like advice to give the youth. I feel like, you know, just voice yourself. You know, the gallery world or like the whole like art scene is like sometimes you want to, you know, paint a different picture than you want to paint. I feel like me, I always talk about like the hood, and you know, sometimes it's not like so pretty or so like you know, so happy. And I stop myself sometimes like from creating like, you know, deep messages. And like I'm like, nah, I'm gonna put it out there. Like I don't care. Like just like, you know, don't diminish yourself for somebody else or something like that. You know, just put your story out there.
Live your truth, because that's how people and things become relatable. Because you know, a lot of people hide the ugly and they just like, oh no, everything's good. But it's important. It's important to highlight that. I love that. That was really amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
For sure.
Thank you so much for being here. We're deeply, deeply honored. We're your fans. We cannot wait to see the rest of Clue trajectory. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yay. Make sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel.